Hello everyone, welcome to another watercolor tutorial. We're going to be painting a detailed pine tree today, or evergreen. So what you're going to need is a piece of watercolor paper. I'm using cotton paper, but it doesn't need to be cotton, it could just be any cold pressed paper. And I'm using my Princeton size 12 brush. I don't usually use this brush, I almost never do, but I thought I would try it out because it's extremely pointed, and this is perfect for what we are trying to paint. So the first thing you're going to do is just paint a very faint line that stretches the height of your tree in green. And you can leave some gaps in there as well. It's just a little guide for yourself. Next, we are going to take, and by the way, it doesn't matter which green you're using, any shade of green will do here. And we're gonna start at the top, and I'm gonna just zoom in here so you have a better idea of what I'm doing. And we're just going to start painting on these very light brush strokes, and you're painting on them quite tiny at the top here. And you're sort of angling your brush horizontally like this and just very lightly pressing down with the tip of your brush, the very pointed part of your brush, as you move downwards. Reload as necessary. And as you get further and further down your tree, you want to start extending your horizontal brush strokes so that they come out farther from the tree. And you also want to make sure that it's not completely symmetrical. Not every single side has to have the other side looking the exact same way. So you're just repeating this sort of dotting, horizontal dotting process, slowly moving your way down the tree. And again, leave little gaps so it doesn't have to just go straight into like a triangular shape, because trees don't look like that. You can have, you know, wider areas than more narrow areas like this. Just sort of go with what feels natural to you. And this part I didn't really have a trunk, so I'm going to be filling it in a little bit more. And I am just going to paint myself a little guide here. I am going to have some branches coming out. So the little branches that I drew for myself, I'm sort of going around them and just following them in a very light structure. It doesn't have to be very rigid. And the further that you get down your tree, the more volume you can add to your brush, your horizontal brush strokes. So here I've actually picked up quite a bit of water, which is why they're coming out much, I guess, thicker and blotchier rather than horizontal. and that's quite all right. And as we move, and I'm kind of just looking at my pine tree here, and I'm seeing that in some places it's a little bit too sparse. So I'm just fixing it up, adding a little bit. And as I'm moving down closer towards the bottom of my tree, I'm trying not to taper out my brush strokes as much. I'm kind of bringing it in a little bit because we don't want our tree to look like a triangle. Okay, now while that is still wet, so you want to work a little bit more quickly, you can take some darker green, and if you don't have a darker green, just mix a little bit of black in. That's exactly what I did. And you're just adding a little bit of highlight to the bottom part of each kind of major chunk. And this should naturally bleed upwards and create sort of a shadow effect on the bottom portions of your branches. So every major cluster should have a little bit of this. And that by itself adds so much to our tree. It really makes it look a lot more 3D than it looked before. You could go one step further, darken it a little bit more, or add like a little bit of black, and just do one more layer of these highlights. Here I'm using mostly black watercolor for the final touches. And it's really creating this beautiful 3D effect on our pine tree. It's just giving it a completely unique element. The other thing that you want to do, and you don't have to do this, this part is optional, but if your line, your trunk line is still visible, you can just darken it very slightly, like add a little highlight on a portion of it, and even just thicken the bottom of it, so it actually looks like a trunk. And there we have it. That is our detailed evergreen pine tree. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and don't forget to check out some of my other tutorials.